In the NBA, you have to pretend that Bronny's an NBA player because otherwise you'll upset the king. And remember, he is a 6'2 guard that's a non-point guard. I've never seen that existing in the current NBA. And go back 20 years. He is 1 for 16 in the NBA from the floor, 0 for 7 on threes. He's not an NBA player. He was not a great high school player. He was a good high school player. He wasn't a good college player. He was a college player. And he's not an NBA player. And he may be a great kid. I'm sure he is. LeBron's a nice guy. I've met him. Can we stop pretending on this?
I just looked it up. G-League top scorers, points per game. I went through 50, and there's no Bronny James in there. He had 140-point game. The other games were 1. So now you do the math, and it's not going to be in the top 50. I don't even know who is this. Bryce McGowan, Elijah Harkles, Trey Alexander, DJ Davidson. Never heard of these kids. But they're dropping 30 a night in G League. Why is Bronny sitting on the bench? And this is the thing with Stephen A.
Bronny James, he's 7 for 28 in 4 preseason games from the field. He's 2 for 13, I believe, from three-point range. He's got 8 assists and 8 turnovers. He's moving into year 2. This guy is not an NBA player.
There's an unwritten law in the NBA that every player learns the moment they walk through those locker room doors. Roster spots are everything. Only 15 per team. Each one represents hundreds of players who never made it. Guys who battled through summer league, scraped by on 2-way contracts and 10-day deals, played overseas for years and went through countless workouts, all for one chance at the league. So when a player holds down a roster spot but can't earn real minutes from his coaching staff, the tension doesn't just quietly exist in the background. It grows, it builds, and eventually it becomes impossible to ignore. That's exactly the situation the Los Angeles Lakers are facing right now with Bronny James. On paper, Bronny is an NBA player. He's got a guaranteed contract, he wears the purple and gold, he sits on the bench every game. But when the Lakers actually needed bodies, when Luka Doncic and Gabe Vincent were sidelined, when Austin Reeves was banged up, when the backcourt was dangerously thin and the game still mattered, Bronny didn't get the call. Instead, JJ Redick made a move that said everything without saying anything at all. He started Nick Smith Jr. Let that sink in. Nick Smith Jr., a guy Charlotte waived before his rookie deal even finished, a guard with negative career advanced metrics, a scorer who can't defend and doesn't fit anywhere long-term in this league. The Lakers signed him to a 2-way contract, brought him in with zero hype, and when push came to shove in a real NBA game, they picked him over Bronny James. This wasn't about Nick Smith Jr. being some hidden gem. This was about Bronny James not being trusted, and that distinction is everything. The Lakers didn't just bench Bronny that night, they sent a league-wide message without saying a word, showing everyone exactly where he ranks in their internal pecking order. When the Suns were running away with it and the game was already over, Bronny finally checked in. 9 minutes left. Garbage time. Outcome already sealed. It's the same pattern we've seen all season long. If the game's competitive, Bronny doesn't play. If the game matters, Bronny doesn't play. If something's actually on the line, Bronny doesn't play. That's not player development, that's damage control.
Last night came in, 3 turnovers, 0 for 5, looked terrified, nervous, and the Sixers, you can't fool players, went right after him. This continues to be an unserious story.
This isn't about one game. This is about a pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore or spin. Bronny hasn't hit more than 10 meaningful minutes in an NBA game since early November. Even with injuries piling up in the backcourt, even when the Lakers desperately needed fresh legs, defensive intensity, or any kind of playmaking spark, JJ Redick never once turned to Bronny. That tells you everything you need to know. NBA coaches will ride with struggling players if they trust them. They'll live with mistakes, they'll let guys play through tough stretches. What they won't do is put someone on the floor they believe actively hurts their chances to win. And right now, the Lakers are basically telling us that Bronny James is in that category. The question that nobody wants to ask out loud is this: Is Bronny taking a roster spot from someone who could actually help this team win? Because there are players around the league right now, solid bench guards, proven rotation guys, who would give anything for the minutes Bronny isn't even getting. Players who defend at a high level, players who knock down open shots consistently, players who know their role and execute without needing the ball. The kind of glue guys that championship teams rely on when the playoffs arrive. Those players don't get grace periods, they don't get extended runway, they don't get guaranteed contracts because of who their father is. They get judged purely on production. Bronny hasn't hit that standard yet, not even close. And that's where the resentment starts to creep in, not just from frustrated fans, but from players and coaches around the entire league. Players notice when someone gets special treatment. They notice when opportunities are given instead of earned. They notice when a coaching staff won't use a player even when common sense says he should at least get a real shot. When the Lakers desperately needed a lift against Phoenix, JJ Redick looked everywhere except the very end of his bench. He played Smith Jr., he threw together random lineups, he asked Reeves to carry even more load. He did everything humanly possible to avoid playing Bronny until the game was already decided and meaningless. That's not rotation strategy. That's not rest management. That's avoidance.
Bronny's NBA numbers don't help his case at all. Through 15 games, he's averaging less than 2 points, barely any assists, virtually no defensive impact, and most of that has come against opponents' third stringers in garbage time. These aren't high-pressure situations. These aren't minutes against legitimate starters or playoff-caliber competition. These are minutes where the other team has already mentally checked out, and even in those low-stakes moments, Bronny hasn't stood out. That's the part that hurts. If Bronny were absolutely dominating garbage time, if he were flying around on defense, draining open looks, creating chaos on both ends, the conversation would shift overnight. Coaches always reward energy and effort. The NBA respects hustle. But instead, Bronny has just blended into the scenery, giving the Lakers absolutely zero reason to expand his role. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. Bronny James has a guaranteed spot on the 15-man roster. The Lakers are trying to compete for a championship. They desperately need depth. They need backcourt defenders. They need players who can handle playoff intensity. And yet, one of their precious roster spots is taken by someone they clearly don't trust when games actually count. That's not sustainable. Front offices don't run on feelings or storylines. They operate on razor-thin margins. When February comes and the trade deadline approaches, every contract becomes either a valuable asset or a difficult problem. And right now, Bronny James looks a lot less like a long-term investment and a lot more like a complicated question mark the Lakers will eventually need to answer. Is he untouchable? Not even close. Despite the historic father-son narrative, despite all the attention and marketing appeal, despite everything, the Lakers have already shown us through their actions that Bronny isn't part of their winning rotation. If that's the reality, then keeping him on the active roster becomes harder to justify every week, especially when LeBron James' future with the franchise is uncertain. LeBron opted in for another year, but everyone knows the clock is ticking. Everyone in that organization understands that. When that era ends, the natural protection Bronny has right now disappears with it. Once that shield is gone, the Lakers will judge him by the exact same standard they use for everyone else. And so far, that evaluation hasn't been pretty. This doesn't mean Bronny can't become a real NBA player. Development isn't always a straight line. Guards especially need time to grow their game. But development requires consistent opportunity, and opportunity requires real trust from your coaching staff. Right now, Bronny has neither. He's stuck in the worst possible spot for any young player, technically on the roster, but completely outside the actual rotation. That's how promising careers quietly disappear before they ever really start. The uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud is this: there are players in the G League, in overseas leagues, and sitting in free agency right now who would give the Lakers more immediate help than Bronny does today. Defensive specialists who pride themselves on lockdown defense, energy guards who change the pace of the game, shooters who know their limitations and thrive in their role. Those are the types of players championship teams lean on when it matters most. Those players don't get chances like this because roster spots are precious, and one of those spots belongs to Bronny James. This isn't about hating Bronny as a person or a player. This is about cold reality. The NBA is ruthless because it has to be. There are too many talented players fighting for too few spots. Every decision has consequences. Every roster spot sends a message to the rest of the league. And the message the Lakers are sending right now is crystal clear. They don't trust Bronny James to help them win games today. Until that changes, the questions won't stop. Questions about nepotism, about fairness, about whether this roster spot is being used the right way, and about how much longer the Lakers can afford to carry a player who exists more as a storyline than as an actual basketball solution. The NBA doesn't wait for anyone. It doesn't care about famous last names, heartwarming stories, or family legacies once the ball goes up. It only cares about one thing: who helps you win basketball games. Right now, Bronny James is learning that harsh lesson in the toughest way possible, from the bench, watching everyone else get the opportunities he thought would be his.